Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very first podcast of 2024, and we have an exciting guest today with us. His name is Nadav. Nadav, welcome to the show. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for our audience?
Totally. Thank you first, Trunal, for having me here. Excited to be here. My name is Nadav. I'm doing cloud alliances for Wiz. Wiz is a cloud security, very big ISV running in all three cloud platforms. I'll maybe explain a little bit more about Wiz in a second. I've been in the cloud industry for the past 4 years. Been exposed to this world of cloud partnerships and the evolvement of cloud go to market, as a new industry. And ever since I've been excited about that. Before that, I've been doing a couple of technical roles in other companies in Israel. I'm based in Tel Aviv, and I'm happy to be here. Yeah, and talk about our day to day work.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, Nadav. And before we dive deep into all the questions that we have, and we have an exciting agenda today, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up being interested in this space of cloud marketplaces?
Sure. I'm from the ISV perspective. This is what I will, focus on, and this is what my journey has been. I've been working with two companies that are considered technology ISVs. One is Wiz, the current company I work at, and the other it's another Israeli company called Granulate, which was recently acquired by Intel, also in the cloud sphere. So I've seen the world of cloud partnerships and marketplace go to market from those two companies. Um, as I mentioned, I started working in the industry about 4 years ago. To be brutally honest, I was just introduced to this world with the new role I took upon myself. It used to be called business development manager, which I think still exists, but I think today it's tweaking a little bit towards what business development exactly is your role, including, and a lot of that is switching right now into partnerships, alliances, channels, and so I started working at Granulate, managing the ISV partnership that we had with AWS. And time after time, and as long as I dug deeper, I understood how much potential and how big this market is currently is and is going to be. And I think it's exciting being even today on the tech industry, when everything is so defined, and it's so I wouldn't say traditional, because tech industry is not traditional, but it seems like everybody knows anything. And there's currently a big gap, I think, between what people know and what actually take place in the tech world, and that's the cloud go to market industry. That's as soon as I understood the potential of working with the hyperscalers, partnering up with them, co-selling with them, using marketing budgets and resources and campaigns, and especially, so I think something we will maybe touch a little bit more, the potential of the cloud marketplaces, not only as a billing mechanism. It actually blew my mind. I looked at I suddenly saw the big gap between the potential that companies today have or are able to utilize from this new industry, and the actual work that is being done today, and the fact that not everyone is fully involved, and I think they should be. At least most companies today should be. Not everyone hire people to take ownership of that, and then it becomes like a side project, which I think is not healthy for businesses today. And it got me very excited. Like I saw a trend, I saw a gap, and I immediately wanted to know more. And I was also fortunate to work for two very smart and innovative companies, with the latter one, the Wiz, which is, I think, is one of the best ISVs globally. I'm happy to explain why, but so I was also getting full exposure of how this potential can actually be used.
That's fantastic. So, you packed a lot of information in that. So I'm going to unpack some of those one by one. Right. First is, you've been fortunate. To be honest, I've also been fortunate to witness the growth of the cloud marketplaces through, the places that I worked at, like Confluent. Um, let's say, Nadav, like there's somebody starting a business today, or like, has been an established company but haven't really explored the cloud marketplaces and cloud GTM yet. Could you talk to them and tell them about why they should consider a cloud GTM at this point in time in their journey?
Um, I think the immediate answer would be why not? There's usually mostly benefits if you actually research this area. First of all, first and foremost, it's starting to become the second largest billing mechanism, and soon it will become the first largest, I think, billing mechanism in today's, I would call it, SaaS B2B world, which is the majority of the tech industry. And so it's inevitable. So I mean, you have, not even talking about the benefits. Companies have to adopt a cloud marketplace go-to-market strategy. They have to have listings on the cloud marketplace, and they have to know how to operate them, because we serve customers, and as soon as a customer is asking, "I want to be billed through a specific cloud marketplace," you want to be at a place where you know how to operate that, and you know how to execute, and you actually do it even better than your competitors, so that it would create a good user experience and a good competitive advantage. But other than that, it's filled with benefits. A lot of companies, the numbers vary, but between 15 to 40% reduction in sales cycle, thanks to the fact that there's less legal and accounting involved. You trust the CSPs, AWS, Google, Microsoft, for example, to do the due diligence for you, and it's basically an exchanged billing mechanism that saves you a lot of time and a lot of comfort. The second thing is, again, something that's inevitable. More and more companies today sign commitment agreements, EDPs at AWS, Max at Microsoft, for example. And when we refer to the gap, I think this is the gap that a lot of people either don't know or don't know how to utilize. As soon as they sign that, and we're talking about almost all strategic accounts, which are basically your future customers, the committed spend can be used to purchase your solutions. And usually, when you have a champion, for example, Wiz, we sell to a CISO. Not always the CISO would even know about their commitment spend that the DevOps and finance teams signed together with the cloud provider, and they go and try to get new budgets. They try to go traditional direct sales, and at a certain point, the procurement comes to them and says, "Oh no, we want to be built to AWS Marketplace," and so you want to prevent this to even happen in the first place. So again, it's inevitable. Customers will more and more start reaching out and asking that, but you can be even better at service by telling them, "Let's try to use this path because you guys, it will benefit you guys." So it's mostly benefits. The reduction in the sales cycle, which saves thousands of dollars per deal. The budgets, the less need of resources like legal and finance. And at the end of the day, and I think that's maybe the most important piece, is you actually improve your relationship with the different cloud providers by using their cloud marketplaces, because the cloud marketplaces are now a key component of the relationship you have with them. And so the more you use it, the better your partnership will be.
Absolutely. And you've been in the space for over, for multiple years. How have you seen the entire, ecosystem change over time? Like maybe initially, like 4 years ago when we were at Granulate, how were the things? What was the market maturity? And now when you're at Wiz, and Wiz has seen amazing growth, especially through cloud marketplaces, all of those information is publicly available, right? Um, like what kind of changes are you seeing out there in the world that might be helpful for someone starting out today?
Yeah. So first, there's more players in the industry. Again, the more the days are counting, and more companies are getting into this commitment game. and so more prospects and more customers are now marketplace interest users that you can pass. So this is one. Second is the resources that the different cloud providers are putting into this marketplace go to market are growing massively. So if you talk, I don't know, like 3 4 years ago, marketplace was not an idea; it was an actual product, but it was some sort of ideology that people try to push. There were some, so there was headcount of people using it, but today, if you look at AWS, for example, there's marketplace customer advocates, there's technical teams, there's operational teams, there's co-sell advisors, there's tons of people globally, even in regions that weren't so developed up until a few years ago, that are actually putting this into practice. And so you have way more resources, way more knowledge, way more enablement. It's more available, and on the the product side of it, marketplace is now an actual machine for billing. It used to be a good billing mechanism, and it's now an even better solution than more traditional ones. And so it's really developed into a point where you uh, you know um, it's even better for you to use that. And again, at a certain point, it's kind of inevitable. So the earlier you get into that, both as an ISV and as a procurer yourself, the better the processes will be when you come into the commercial part, again, either as a customer or as a vendor, to use marketplace for your benefit.
Great. And then, as you talked about, like the entire cloud GTM has multiple, pieces to it. And you talked about the cloud listing across multiple hyperscalers and then co-sell as well. We'll get to co-sell in a bit. But now, like in terms of the cloud marketplaces listing itself, that's, we all know that it's just the step one of it, and it requires effort, and companies need to do it. But what does a day two look like just getting the listing is not sufficient, like the world has learned that, right? There's additional things that you need to do on top of it. So what does that world look like? And if you can talk a little bit about that, that'll be great.
Totally, yes. I think the core premise that we talked about, and should be said again, is the companies have to adopt a cloud go to market strategy as early as possible. So that includes everyone, not only cloud focused solutions or cloud based
Hmm.
solutions. I think every SaaS B2B company, needs to have a listing on the marketplace. So that's really, like you said, day one. And going on the marketplace and putting your listing on the marketplace is merely a technical operational thing. I'm not, I'm not making it smaller than it is, but it's just something that you have to go through. And then once you are there, this is where the cloud go to market game begins. So you wanna, as we mentioned, we after you put your listing on the marketplace, you don't just want this to exist and hopefully I won't get too many requests, and if we do, we'll manage to fix that. No, you want to master cloud marketplaces. You want to understand the business value that it has to your customers, and especially the ones with the commit plans like we talked about. You want to build an entire operation to support private offers. So when a customer comes to you and says, I want to procure it through a AWS marketplace, for example, it would take you 2 hours and not 2 weeks to get that. And you want to keep leveraging relationships and create win wires with the different marketplaces team. There's big marketplaces teams in the hyperscalers business today. You want to leverage your channel programs and channel relationships because this triangle of you the channel, it's not even a triangle, it's more angles. You have the cloud partners, you have your resale partners, and you have at the end of it your customer. And so you want to know how to leverage programs like CPPO at AWS or MPO at Microsoft to be able to create marketplace private offers when there's a partner, there's a channel partner involved. And at the end of the day, the cherry at the top with what everybody wants, you want to start co-selling with the different cloud providers. And co-selling, by the way, today has a direct link to marketplace success. And so we said that we had a session here in our local community of cloud people. We said marketplace equals co-sell, and that's your co-sell strategy is your marketplace strategy that's integrated. The incentives that the sellers and the cloud providers have for co-sell are based on marketplace. And so the more you sell on marketplace, the more you master a marketplace, you would have more advocates and more supporters globally in the largest companies in the world like Amazon, Google, Microsoft that will work hard to help your deals finalize. And so just to summarize this, the day after should include adopting a cloud go to market strategy, hiring someone to own it. That's another trouble people get into when VP products or VP operations or even the CEO take this strategy upon themselves and dedicate 5% of their week to that, it's not going to succeed. And so you want to adopt the cloud strategy. You want to hire someone to own it. You want to enable your sellers and your executives and your sales operations and your finance teams so that everyone would understand how and why they should use marketplace as a mechanism. And you want to explore activities and leverage different relationships that you created with the different cloud providers to basically, at the end of the day, help your business succeed through that.
Fantastic. And now, like, we are getting into the core cell and some of the deeper things that an organization or a company needs to do. But let's take a step back. Like, you and I have been in the space for a long time. So we understand the value, we get it. We are like, all right, this is the future and it's already here. We are going to go do it. But that is not the case for every single company out there, right? So let's say if there's a person, a CEO, a founder, or, someone, some alliance leader who's trying to convince internally and get the buy-in that this is a channel that we should seriously put resources behind. What are some of the tips that you have seen in the past that have worked that can be useful for others?
That's actually the hardest part, I think, to get everyone on board because it's like, I'm yelling, Eureka, I found it, but not everyone, cares. And or it's just not a priority to everyone. And that's okay. That's like, there's tons of priorities a startup or even an enterprise should focus on. And so I think that's the hardest part. And I wish for this, market to be a bit more mature so that, the alliance managers or channel people wouldn't spend so much time on trying to convince people that that's the right way. And maybe what we do right now, you and I, would help one person to understand that better, and so we can jump one step further from this process. But I think a way for ISVs to get the entire organization, from engineering to sales to support to executives, to take part in this and to convince them why this is important. I think one, you can show success stories. And
Hmm.
so if you did a marketplace transaction with a customer, you can take the data from this deal and you can compare that to a traditional direct deal, and you can see which one took longer.
Hmm.
Now, there's a lot of aspects to it. It's not the only thing that affects, but if you do that for majority of your deals and you show a clear trend that marketplace puts you in, that's something you need to project upwards all the way, again, up to your executives and even investors. I think they also define the strategy of the company, and this is definitely a strategy. And so you want to collect success stories, you want to show them, you want to do enablement. I think that's very important, to have your people know to speak the language of their counterparts on the cloud providers, or the language of the cloud go to market, what you and I are trying to discuss right now. You want to build a technical operation around that would make it seamless. So as we mentioned, creating a private offer or putting your listing on the marketplace, creating a private offer and sending it to a customer and then processing it. That's technical and operational work. You want to know how to do it. It's not impossible. You just need to learn and implement in your organization so that marketplace wouldn't be perceived as something that takes you back, but rather puts you, it's the future of billing. And again, I would repeat that again. People hire alliance managers. This is a new role. I know it's a lot of people. A lot of times people are not even understanding what this role means. But once you have someone that's owning it and implementing it within the organization and maintaining the relationships, the external relationship, that's even more important because usually you don't have time to be friends with the marketplace team and the co-sell teams and the sellers and the executives, and someone needs to take ownership of that. And so unless you have you hire someone that takes this upon themselves, it would probably not work the way you want it to work, and then, as we mentioned, it might create a different the negative effect to what cloud go to market can actually help companies do.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Nadav, what I have seen in my experience is this channel is a new channel. Not many people know about it. And let alone, like, first is the awareness, like, awareness is low. And second is, once you are aware, you expect, returns way too sooner. So what I've seen is companies, when they go out, like, having an approach of giving in first, like, do the marketplace listing, do the entire setup, like, start, pushing deals through the marketplace, and then starting the entire effect of how the hyperscalers can work with you to increase your business. That entire process needs to be kickstarted. What I see out there is many people want to see the result. Like, I mean, I don't blame them, right? Like, everyone's motivated by instant gratification, so people feel like, okay, the moment I put up a listing, I want the deals to flow through. But it's not that. But if you do the work properly, then eventually it's gonna, create such a good snowball effect for you, that it's going to be better than pretty much any other channel. So yeah, I'm completely aligned there.
I want to
All
add to
right,
what
so
you said, and
yeah, go
it's
ahead.
no, you were exact, and maybe something that could be said, regarding that is that it takes time. Like, people need to understand it takes a little bit of time. You need to to implement that. You need to learn that. Not everyone, it's still not public knowledge. You need to research the how a CSP works, how Amazon works on their cloud go to market. You want to implement that. You want to you want to go on a marketplace. You want to implement the cloud go to market strategy. It takes time. So I've heard about startup CEOs saying, so I hired this alliance manager. I started working with AWS. I put the deals on their CRM for partners or whatever, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see any referrals. I didn't see anything. So why the hell am I even putting time on that? And so this is why, going back, it's important to show the success, but it's also important to understand that this is strategic. You want to build a 5-10 year plan to how you're going to be one of the best global ISVs. It takes time to get to that point, and this is usually where you start seeing the best results. And so, yeah, totally agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a different channel than others, but it's also not. Like, for example, marketing. Like, if you just put up a website, it's unfair for you to expect for people to come to the website and buy your product, like, right then and there. Like, there needs to be content, there needs to be storytelling behind it, ease of purchasing, like all of that, right? Similarly, on a cloud GTM side, it's the same thing. Like, if you just put up a listing and just wait for things to happen, it's not going to happen for you. But
Exactly.
I'm glad that, the industry is learning about it, and more people are aware of it now, and things are moving in the right direction. So
Totally.
all good.
Yeah.
All right, so now maybe we switch gears now and talk about, like, what is co-sell. I mean, there's many people. There's different kinds of co-sell exists in the world. There's one to the channel partners. There is, ISV to ISV. When we talk about co-sell, in specifically in terms of the hyperscalers context, could you share a little bit about, like, what that even means, and why is that beneficial for some of the ISVs out there?
Yeah, totally. I think co-sell is also what everyone wants, but it's also what everyone doesn't know how to define. It's a lot of people treat co-sell differently, and it's actually something that people keep saying and not fully understanding. I admit myself, I'm still in the journey of understanding the best way to co-sell with the hyperscalers. But if I'm trying to simplify it, I see two angles to co-selling with the hyperscalers. There's the deal acceleration and the lead generation. So I'm trying to use simplified words, intentionally, and so it's usually the first and then the second. Usually start with accelerating your existing pipeline, and only then, and after you build a strategic partnership, you're actually starting to seeing leads. And so one
Mhm.
thing worth mentioning for everyone's listening, this is out there, it's public. The hyperscalers, they incentivize their sellers to work with approved ISVs like Wiz, for example. And so they get either bonuses or quota retirement for deals that they help either accelerating, or even deals that they create themselves for the ISV with their customers. And so let's say I have a customer I'm trying to sell to. I could try go, all ends on deck with my sellers, trying to do anything possible to close the deal. But then comes the cloud go to market, where I can reach out to the account manager on the account executive on Azure, for example, that manages this customer. They have data, they have the knowledge, they have the personal relationships, they have this incentive I talked about. And everything happens on the cloud. Maybe the procurement itself even happened on the cloud marketplace. And so this person is crucial for me, for my sellers, to complete the deal perfectly. And so this was just worth mentioning, because when you understand that those people have a financial incentive to help you, it's not just trying to get them to be nice to you, or maybe convincing them that your product is best, which by the way is important, because they have noise from tens of thousands of ISVs in the world. You have to understand the different incentives that they have, because those people manage tens of customers with thousands of ISVs working with them. And so you want to be very clear. And so that's just a note for why co-sell even exists. Going back to what I said, there's two angles. How do I accelerate my existing pipeline? How do I take opportunities that are stuck, for example, and try to use this lifeline of, I have the Azure AE, I built personal relationships with them. Let's try to work together with them to co-sell my solution to this third party customer. And there's then the lead generation. Once I have this established relationship, and this person at Microsoft knows that my solution helped their customers, let's try to help other customers. And that's a win-win-win, because they would get recognized for introducing their customers to this amazing solution. I would get an additional lead that I created, and the customer would get a good solution, good service from the cloud provider, and usually good offer at the end, if we go marketplace credits, whatever we can try to get to that. So for ISVs to do co-sell with hyperscalers, you have to be very, very proactive, and take into consideration it can take some time, as we mentioned, because although they have many incentives, the CSPs at the end of the day, this is what I tell everyone, they're not resellers. They were never built to be resellers. Okay, so they have this financial incentive, but they have tons of other incentives and other stuff on their mind. And so you have to take into consideration it would take a while. And another thing that we talked about earlier, that marketplace is a key factor here. And so the CSP resellers, as we mentioned, they're compensated for co-sale deals, mostly in cases where the deals went through the marketplaces. And so
Mm.
if you adopted a marketplace strategy like we talked earlier, your co-sell would be stronger, because you would just be a highlighted partner for those sellers to work with you. And with that regard, I think 2024, the year we just started a week ago, is definitely going to be the year of marketplace, or maybe even marketplace battles, battles in a good sense. AWS, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, they all have marketplaces with incentives. They all put a lot of emphasis on creating equality between co-sell and marketplace. And so you, as an ISV, as a vendor, you want to be first in line with marketplace, so that you can actually do co-sell properly.
Great. Switching gears, Nadav, like let's talk a little bit about the future. You at the start of the podcast, we discussed a little bit around, how the future is changing, and there's a new role for, Cloud Alliance Manager, which has been developed in the past few years. How do you see that role evolving in 2024 and beyond?
First of all, I think it's still defining itself, and so this is why I think you know founders like yourselves and cloud alliance managers like myself, we are defining this new role that I think will take over in the next few years. And so we all have a part in it. That's why it's important, and we're still in learning progress. But I think in 2024, cloud alliance leaders would need to manage all of the above pillars that I talked about. So your day to day would include you know making sure all those pillars, I'm maximizing them with the relationship that I'm building with the hyperscaler. I think they should maintain daily relationships with key personas at the hyperscalers. That
Mm.
includes the partner teams, the marketplace teams, product teams, the executive alignment, the executive. There's something that it's called an executive sponsorship. That's basically getting my executives be on on a daily or monthly or quarterly relationship with a counterpart on the big hyperscalers. We want to have their support in events, in sessions, and so that includes the keeping the relationship ongoing, connecting all the dots. So we talked about partner marketing. There's funding, conferences, campaigns. I am the enabler for my marketing team to actually work with the different hyperscalers, and so I need to get people that I work with to adopt whatever I'm trying to create, either if it's marketing or sales. We talked about in the sales world, there's the co-sell, there's the marketplace, there's the seller to seller relationship that I want to keep maintaining. We have product, so we talked about the integrations, the technical and strategic better together story, the go to market we can do on top of any joint product story, and everyone else, making sure I recruit their help to actually execute this cloud go to market that includes finance, DevOps, FinOps, engineering, executives. Again, almost everyone at my company I work with to some extent to help complete this cloud go to market strategy.
Okay, and then now, like as this channel is going to be becoming more and more important in the future, like more and more people will come and they'll want to understand, okay, how should I think about it? Which we've answered as a part of our initial podcast. The other thing that I'm seeing is, okay, let's say there's a leader out there, sales leader, CROs, whatever. They want to enable this channel, and they're like, okay, what kind of budget do I need in 2024 to set aside? Now, you could think of budget as an absolute value, or you could think of a budget as a percentage of something. It's like percentage of marketing, percentage of sales, percentage of your overall budget. Do you have thoughts into like what kind of budget people should set aside, either 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, like, and how should people think about arriving at that number? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, definitely. Before I talk numbers, or even if I talk numbers at all, I think the first thing is, as I mentioned, hiring people to do it, and that requires budgets because you need to pay them. So that includes alliance managers, sales operations or partner operations to take care of the day to day of going on the marketplace, creating the private offers, reporting them, maintaining them. That's a lot of operational work. You need to invest budgets on enablement, and so, for example, at Wiz, every seller goes through onboarding that includes hyperscalers onboarding, what's co-sell, what's marketplace, what are the benefits, what are the incentives, what language should I speak in order to complete a good structured deal. And so enablement also, if you have go-to-market enablement teams or training teams, and if you don't, make sure you implement those different methods. I think it's important to incentivize the people you hire. And so if you have an alliance manager, incentivize them to create marketplace revenue or to generate leads or to accelerate existing pipeline. Because as we mentioned, it's not only sales and marketing. No, there's partnerships actually help finalize existing or create existing pipelines. And so you want to incentivize them like you incentivize sellers. And I even heard about some companies that incentivize their sellers to utilize some of the cloud go to market methods. And so it's just incentivize people to help you reach to highlights that you want to reach. And I think in order to create a brand for yourself within those hyperscalers, make sure you put some money again, as long as it fits your business strategy. um, AWS reInvent, Microsoft Ignite, the different summits, the regional summits. There's Google Next. There's more verticalized events. That's super important, both for you as as a vendor. Your clients are usually there to some extent, and also for your representativeness with the cloud providers. You want to keep showing that you are a good partner, an active partner, and so that also requires budgets that a CRO today needs to think of how they distribute their budgets, not only to sales purposes that are more traditional, but how do I put my partners in line? And you have to take into consideration with channel or partner strategies, there are costs to it. Marketplace, there's a fee. People don't always know that. It's a lot of money when we talk about tens of deals, but it's still worth it, and I can prove it. Channel partners, resellers, you need to pay them for the deals that they get you, for the leads. And so a lot of people don't want that, and I think it's, if you want to talk growth, it makes no sense to keep it at home if you don't get your pipeline running. And so I did not say any numbers, but I did try to touch the points where budget needs to be allocated for the success of the partner go to market.
Yeah, it's like pinpointing a number might be hard without knowing the entire context of a specific,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
I really loved the inputs that you described. Okay, now final question from me for today. Like what I've seen in my journey in this path of learning about the cloud GTM is predominantly this has been a very US focused or North America focused GTM channel. Majority of the companies that you see, like Wizards of the world and CrowdStrikes of the world, they've all been like focusing on the US market. Are you seeing expansion beyond US market in the international region as well in terms of the awareness and the appetite to adopt cloud GTM?
Yeah, like like with every trend, starts in the US, and then between 1 to 5 years later, it drops in EMEA and APAC, and this is what happens right now. And so I think the last 3 years were the golden age of the cloud go to market within the US, and now it's more established. Now we're
Hmm.
starting to see how this takes off in other regions in the world. So for example, we talked about the consumption commitments, the max and the EDPs being like a very basic structural key for developing markets with cloud go to market. The consumption commitments agreements are now being signed like crazy in APAC and EMEA recently. Every day,
Hmm.
you see more and more strategic customers joining this circle. And then, like we talked about earlier, and once they sign that, it's a matter of months until they fully understand how to utilize that in their procurement strategy, in their cloud strategy. And also on the other end, on the other front, on the CSP front, the hyperscalers, they're hiring marketplace go to market people, co-sale advisors, channel sales, all to support this on a global manner. And so, I mean, if you look, there's a role at AWS, for example, called ISM. That's ISV Sales Manager. Those are people that are being incentivized to help ISVs like Wiz, for example, succeed in this ecosystem that we talked about. I think in Israel 2 years ago, for example, there was 1%. Today there's like five and counting. And I also
Hmm.
see this progress in the UK and in the DACH region, in India, in Thailand. And so this is really starting to pick up, and it's gonna even happen, I think, faster because we have the US success to look at. And so there's a lot of growing ISVs in those regions. There's a lot of commitment agreements signed. There's a lot of resources that the hyperscalers put regionally to support that. And you can even look at dates like different programs like MPO, which is the party private offer program at Microsoft, is now fully GA in the US. 2 months from now, I think it's going to be GA in EMEA, then APAC, and so you see it start falling like dominoes towards the regions that are really starting to pick up. And this is why, by the way, it's also super important to start early as possible because this is still an evolving market, even in the US. And so you're never behind if you start today, because this is what's going to define the next few years, and you want to be there when it starts, not when it's fully evolved.
Fantastic. Well, now thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful catching up. I felt like I learned 10 things, and I hope that you enjoyed the conversation as well.
Totally.
We would love to have you again on the podcast in the future, but this one was a treasure trove, and I'm sure our audience will enjoy it a lot. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Trunal. I appreciate it, and always great catching up with you, friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.